Okay. So greens, you guys. What's going on? This your girl Tiffany coming through live in effect. And so today, I will be dealing with the topic about the late Dick Gregory. Who was the late Dick Gregory? So many of us know him for his activist work and for his entrepreneurship, right? And for being a vegan as well, slash vegetarian. But he was also a comedian. That's how he started off. Right? He came about around the same time that Nipsey Russell and Bill Bill Cosby and Red Fox came about on the scene, and Richard Pryor and all of them. Okay, so as you know, he passed away in 2017 at the age of 84. He lived a long life. He lived a good life. Okay, and he had some worse times to share. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get into the biography about Dick Gregory. All right. Okay, so that's my screen right there. Okay, so who was Dick Gregory? He was born Richard Clayston Gregory on October the 12th of 1932, and he died August 19th of 2017. He was an American comedian, civil rights, and vegetarian activist and conspiracy theorist. He spent his last decades of his life speaking regularly about numerous conspiracy theories. Yes, he was a big conspiracy theorist. His writings were bestsellers. Gregory became popular among the African American communities in southern United States with his no hands barrier set, poking fun at the bigotry and racism in the United States. In 1961, he became a staple in the comedy clubs, even appearing on television and officially releasing comedy records album. Gregory was at the forefront of political activism in the 1960s when he protested the Vietnam War and racial injustice. He was arrested multiple times and went on many hunger strikes. He later became a speaker, author, primarily promoting spirituality. Okay, and it said that he died of a heart failure in Washington, D.C. at the age of 84. So now let's go on and let's look further into his life. So Gregory was born in St. Louis, Missouri. He was the son of Lucille, a housemaid, and Presley Gregory. At Sumner High School, he was aided by teachers. Yeah, he was aided by teachers. Among them, Warren St. James. He also excelled at running. Gregory earned a track scholarship to Southern Illinois University, where he set school records as a half miler and miler. He was a member of the Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity. In 1954, his college career was interrupted for 2 years when he was drafted into the United States Army. At the urging of his commanding officer, who had taken notice of his um, penchant for joking, Gregory got his start in comedy in the army, where he entered and won several talent shows. In 1956, Gregory briefly returned to SIU, Southern Illinois University, after his discharge, but dropped out because he felt that the university didn't want me to study; they want me to run. In the hopes of becoming a professional comedian, Gregory moved to Chicago, Illinois, where he became part of a new generation of black comedians that included Nipsey Russell, Bill Cosby, and Godfrey Cambridge, all of whom broke with the minstrel tradition that presented stereotypical black characters. Gregory drew on current events, especially racial issues. For much of his material, segregation is not all bad. Have you ever heard of a collision where the people in the back of the bus got hurt? So then let's go down in his career. He started helping his family with the kids. He started to get at a young age. He was always involved in sports and in social groups in high school. He enrolled in Southern University in 1951. He was named the University Outstanding Athlete of the Year in 1953. The same year he left college, he went and drafted into the United States Army, where he performed comedy shows hosted by Army at the encouragement by his commanding officer. In 1961, Gregory made his New York debut at the Blue Angel, also recording a live set there. Dick Gregory at the Blue Angel for his album East and West. He soon came back to Chicago and finally got his big break at the Playboy Club in Chicago, also in 1961. That was supposed to be one night and ended up being 6 weeks and earned him a spot in Time and a guest appearance on Jack Parr's show and other nightclub shows. Okay, and Gregory began his career as a comedian while serving in the military in the mid 1950s. He served in the Army for a year and a half at Fort Hood in Texas, Fort Lee in Virginia, and Fort Smith in Arkansas. He was drafted in 1954 while attending Southern University. After being discharged, he returned to university. Okay, I read that part. In 1958, Gregory opened the Apex Club nightclub in Illinois. The club failed and landed Gregory in financial hardship. In 1959, Gregory landed a job as master of ceremonies at the Roberts Show Club. All right. Let me see. Now, while working for the United States Postal Service during the daytime, Gregory performed as a comedian in small primary black or patronized nightclubs. In an interview, the Huffington Post, Gregory described the history of black comics as limited. Blacks could sing, dance in the white nightclubs, but weren't allowed to stand flat-footed and talk to white folks, which is what a comic does. So with this as his fuel, he roared on burning to stand foot to foot with the ever evasive white comedians, which was affronted for the man when he would relay this frequent epithet. All right, so then I'm gonna skip on down. So his post stand-up career, okay. So it says Gregory was number 82 on Comedy Central's list of the 100 greatest stand-ups of all time and had his own star on the St. Louis Walk of Fame. He was a co-host with radio personality Kathy Hughes, who is the owner of TV One and Radio One, and was a frequent morning guest on WOL 1450 AM talk radio, The Power, the flagship station of Hughes Radio One. He also appeared regularly on the nationally syndicated Imus in the Morning program. You know, with Don Imus, the one that talked about the nappy-headed hoes. Yeah, him. Gregory appeared as Mr. Sun on the television show Wonder Showsman or Chosen. The third episode entitled Ocean aired in 2005. At Chauncey, a puppet character embodies a hallucinogenic substance. Mr. Sun warns, do not get hooked on imagination. Chauncey, it can lead to terrible, horrible things. Gregory also provided guest commentary on the Wonder Chosen Season 1 DVD. Large segments of his commentary were intentionally bleeped out, including the names of several dairy companies, as he made potentially defamatory remarks concerning ill effects that the consumption of cow milk has on human beings. So, Dick Gregory was big on diet. All right. He had a show on Unsung Hollywood, and they interviewed Bill Cosby. Bill Cosby said one time he invited him to come over, and he asked him, did he want anything to eat? He was like, the only thing he wanted was garlic and milk, or was it garlic and bread or something weird in that nature. So Bill Cosby didn't understand. He was like, okay, and that's what they gave him, garlic. He didn't want anything else. So yeah, he was very big on diet. He kept his diet under control. He maintained it. All right, so it says Gregory attended and spoke at the funeral of James Brown on December 30th, 2006 in Augusta, Georgia. Gregory was an occasional guest on the Mark Thompson's Make It Plain series channel on 146 radio show from 3 p.m. to 6 Pacific time. And also Gregory appeared on the Alice Jones show on September 14, 2010, March 19, 2012, and April the 1st, 2014. Okay. Gregory gave the keynote address for Black History Month at Brown Mara College on February 28, 2013. His takeaway his takeaway message to the students were to never accept injustice. Once I accept injustice, I become injustice. For example, paper mills give off a terrible stench, but the people who work there don't smell it. Remember, Dr. King was assassinated when he went to work for garbage collectors to help them as workers to enforce their rights. They couldn't smell the stench of the garbage all around them anymore. They were used to it. They would eat their lunch out of a brown bag. Sitting one day, a worker was sitting inside the back of the truck. One day the worker was sitting inside the back of the truck on top of the garbage and got crushed to death because no one knew he was there. Wow, that's tragic. Even as late as 2013, Gregory continued to be a ringing voice for the Black Power movement. Towards the end of his life, he was featured in the Fantagraphics book by Pat Thomas entitled Listen, Whitey, The Sights and Sounds of Black Power 1965 to 1975, which uses the political recordings of the civil rights era to highlight socio-political meanings throughout the movement. Gregory is known for comedic performance that not only made people laugh but mocked the establishment. According to Thomas, Gregory's monologues reflect a time when entertainment needed to be political to be relevant, which is why he included his stand-up in the collection. Gregory is featured along with the likes of Malcolm X, Huey P. Newton, Jesse Jackson, Martin Luther King Jr., Langston Hughes, and Bill Cosby. John Morton played Dick Gregory in 2016 in the play Turn Me Loose at the West Side Theater in Manhattan. All right, so let's look at his personal life. So Gregory met his future wife, Lillian Gregory, in an African-American club. They married in 1959. They had 11 children, including one son, Richard Jr., who died 2 months after birth. Okay. Michelle, Leanne, Panama, Paula, Zenobia, Gregory, Christian, Miss Ayana, and Johansson. He was criticized for being an absent father. In a 2000 interview with the Boston Globe, Gregory was quoted as saying, "People ask me about being a father and not being there. I say, Jack the Ripper had a father. Hitler had a father. Don't talk to me about family." Whoa. And so let's look at his activism. He was a political activism, anti-apartheid. On July the 21st, 1979, Gregory appeared at the Amandala Festival with Bob Marley, Patti LaBelle, and Eddie Pomari, amongst other, performed. Gregory gave his speech before Marley's performance, blaming President Jimmy Carter and showing his support for the international anti-apartheid movement. Okay. Let's look at the civil rights movement. Gregory was active in the civil rights movement. On October the 7th, 1963, he came to Selma, Alabama, and spoke for 2 hours on a public platform 2 days before the voter registration drive the voter registration drive known as Freedom Day. All right. And then it says in 64, Gregory became more involved in civil rights activities, activism against the Vietnam War, economic reform, and anti-drug issues. As a part of his activism, he went on several hunger strikes and campaigns in America and overseas. And in 1970s, he was banned from Australia, where government officials feared he would stir up demonstration against the Vietnam War. Okay. And then it says in 1964, Gregory played a role in the search for the three missing civil rights workers, James Chaney, Andrew Goodman, and Michael Schwerner, who vanished in Philadelphia, Mississippi, after Gregory and members of the Corps met with Neshoba County Sheriff Lawrence A. Rainey. Gregory became convinced that the sheriff's office was complicit, with cash provided by Hefner. Gregory announced a $25,000 reward for information. The FBI, which had been criticized for inaction, eventually followed suit with its own reward, and the rewards worked. The bodies of three men were found by the FBI 44 days after they disappeared. At a civil rights rally marked the 40th anniversary of the Voting Rights Act of 1965, Gregory criticized the United States, calling it the most dishonest, ungodly, unspiritual nation that ever exists in the history of the planet. As we talk now, America is 5% of the world's population and consumes 96% of the world's hard drugs. Well, that's a fact. I agree with him on that. Oh, and feminism. Okay, Gregory was an outspoken feminist, and in 1978 joined Gloria was it Steinem, Betty Friedan, Bella Abzug, Margaret Heckler, Barbara Mikulski, Barbara Mikulski, and other suffragists to head the National ERA March for Ratification and Extension, a march down Pennsylvania Avenue to the United States Capitol of over 100,000 on Women's Equality Day. That was August 26th of 1978, to demonstrate for a ratification deadline extension for the proposed Equal Rights Amendment to the United States Constitution and for the ratification of the ERA. The march was ultimately successful in extending the deadline to June 30th of 1982, and Gregory joined other activists to the Senate for celebration and victory speeches by pro-era senators, members of Congress, and activists. The ERA narrowly failed to be ratified by the extended ratification date. All right. So it says that he was diagnosed with lymphoma. Was it lymphoma in 1999? So what is lymphoma? Okay, lymphoma is a group of blood malignancies that develop from lymphocytes, a type of white blood cell. The name often refers to just the cancerous versions rather than all such tumors. Signs and symptoms may be enlarged lymph nodes, fevers, drenching, sweat, unintended weight loss, itching, and constantly feeling tired. Ooh. Let's see that. Ugh, that was disgusting. All right. Okay. Shit. Get to the point. Okay. So so here it is. Okay, this is what he had to say about Martin Luther King Jr. He said, Gregory and Mark Lane conducted landmark research into the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., helping move the United States House selected assassinations committee to investigate the murder. Along with that of John F. Kennedy, Lane was author of conspiracy theory books such as Rush to Judgment. The pair wrote the King conspiracy book, codenamed Zero, which postulated that convicted assassin James Earl Ray did not act alone. Gregory also argued that the moon landing was fake, and the commonly accepted account of 9/11 attacks is incorrect, among other conspiracy theories. All right, so let's go down, skip down. And then it says, down to his death. A week prior to his death, Gregory was hospitalized in Washington, D.C. with a bacteria infection. He died at the hospital in Washington, D.C. On August 19th of 2017, right? And the cause was heart failure. All right, so here all the discography, okay, all the albums that he done did. And then here's the books. So the books that he wrote, which is called Nigger, an autobiography by Dick Gregory, Write Me In, From the Back of the Bus, What's Happening, The Shadow That Scares Me. Okay. Dick Gregory Bible Tale with Commentary. Dick Gregory's Natural Diet for Folk Who Eat, Cooking with Mother Nature. Callous on My Soul, a memoir. Up from Nigger, No More Lies, The Myth and the Reality of American History. Dick Gregory's Political Primer. All right. Murder in Memphis, the FBI and the assassination of Martin Luther King. African American Humor, the best Black comedy from slavery to today. Library of Black America. Dick Gregory, Daring Black Leader, African American Humor, the best Black comedy from slavery to today. Not Poor, Just Broke, Defining Moments in Black History. All right. And so he got so many others. Right here, the films that he did: The Leisure Seeker, History of Comedy, Irreconcilable, Step in the Movie, One Bright Shining Moment, Wanda Chosen, Reno 911, The Hot Chick, Panther, The Glass Shield, ABC Stage 67, and Sweet Love Bitter. All right, so okay, so that's a story about Dick Gregory. Let's see what else. All right, so here's some sources that you can look up more into. So right here, it's called The Entrepreneur of Health, Dick Gregory, Black Consciousness and the Human Potential Movement, Clovis E. Simmons. So it gives an account on Dick Gregory's life and what he has done and all that great stuff. So here's one article you can check into, on your own accord. So it was published online on December 13th, 2011. All right, so just type in Entrepreneur of Health, Dick Gregory, Black Consciousness and the Health Potential Movement, Clovis E. Simmons. All right. Then here's another one. A screen done went out. All right, so it's called Nigger, an Autobiography by Dick Gregory. So this is autobiography here that he wrote. Okay, and this came out in 2011. The contents. Okay, this is the first chapter. The first chapter says, it's a sad and beautiful feeling to walk home slow on Christmas Eve after you've been out hustling all day, shining shoes in the white tarvans and going to the store for the neighbors and buying and stealing presents from the 10-cent store. And now it's dark and still along the street, and your feet feel warm and sweaty inside your tennis shoes, even if the wind finds the hole in your mittens. The electric Santa Clauses wink at you from windows. You stop off at your best friend's house and look at his tree and give him a ballpoint pen with his name on it. You reach into your shopping bag and give something to everybody there, even the ones you don't know. It doesn't matter that they don't have anything for you because it feels so good to be in a warm, happy place where grown-ups are laughing. There are daddies around, your best friends so happy and excited, standing there trying on all his new clothes. As you walk down the stairs, you hear his mother say, "Boo, you forgot to say goodbye to Richard. Say goodbye to Richard, boo, and wish him a then you're out then you're then you're out on the streets again and some of the lights have gone out. You take the long way home and Mr. Ben, the grocer, says, "Merry Christmas, Richard," and you give him a present out of the shopping bag, and you smile at a wino and give him a nickel, and you even wave at Grams, the mean cop. It's a good feeling. You don't want to get home too fast. All right, so that's his um that's his autobiography. So that's just one portion of it. Okay. It's called Nigger. Yep. All right. So with that being said, that's all for today. So happy born day to the late Dick Gregory. Thank you guys for those of you that watching this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to go ahead and share this video, you're more than welcome to do so. If you want to hit the notification bell and subscribe to my YouTube channel, please do that as well. All right then. So until next time, I'll reconnect with you all. Until then, you guys have a wonderful day. Please be safe. And that's that. Peace and power elevation be to all of you. Thank you.